Beyonce was voted #2 most sexiest woman in the world.
Two.
Second to Bella Hadid.
Yeah, Bella Hadid, whoever she is, some model.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting. People say beauty is an eye of the beholder, right? Well, there's actually a study that says that it actually isn't. There's a natural form of beauty, a natural ratio of beauty called, well, okay, back up a little bit. There's something called the golden ratio, right? It's a ratio which is a comparison of numbers in nature, and you can get it by sequences of certain numbers. If you look at this right here, they call them Fibonacci sequences, right? I don't like saying that because Fibonacci was an Italian guy who lived a few hundred years ago. This number sequence was known thousands of years ago by Africans who actually used it to display beauty, architecture, sciences, mathematics, geometry, sacred geometry, medicine, all kinds of things, right? This number pattern, basically you have the first two numbers adding up to the second, the third number, and so on and so forth. So 0 and 1 add to 1, right? I mean 0 and 1 add to 1, 1 and 1 add to 2, 1 and 2 add to 3, and you have 5, 8, 13, 21. It keeps going on and on, right? So now, the golden ratio is basically when you do 2 divided by 1, or 1 divided by 0, or 55 divided by 34. The two numbers in the sequence, when you divide them by each other, it comes closest to 1.618. And the bigger the number gets, the closer you get to that ratio, the golden ratio. Now, the golden ratio is represented by the Greek letter phi, right? Which has the F sound, 1.618. Now, again, the Greeks get credit for this. Then have the letter phi, the 21st letter, by the way, which is also a number in the sequence of the golden sequence, has the F sound, right? Now I'm thinking, if this is African, what proof do I have of this, right? You know, because people may say you blame it, you give credit to Africa for everything. Well, how can that be? Well, here's how it can be with the golden ratio in the so-called Fibonacci sequences, right? So again, the Greek letter phi, or phi, has the F sound, right? Now in the Middle Nessa, which is the hieroglyphic, as you say, oh, lift it up? Mm-hmm. Okay. The serpent has the F sound, right? Now if you look at this letter and the serpent and the F sound, how do you get there? Well, there's a god of the earth, or a nether of the earth rather, because nether is natural principles. The earth god, or nether, his name is Jeb, right? Now Jeb is said to be the ruler of snakes, right? So you have this natural sequence in nature, which you see in flowers, which you see in nautilus shells, which you see in the horn of rams, which you see in pine cones, which you see in pineapples, is all around us, right? So that sequence you see in nature, and again you have the god Jeb, who represents the earth, represents nature. And also you have this symbol right here, which represents Asar, or Un-Nefer, which means the good being. And Osar, or Osiris, as the Greeks call him, is the god of vegetation. So you see the god of, or the nether, that represents snakes, and then the represents vegetation, is indicated by this symbol right here. When you move the symbol down, these crosses come down here, and you get phi, right? So you see the letter F sound, the symbol itself, and its evolution to get phi, is where the golden ratio comes from, where so-called Fibonacci sequences come from, and it's in nature. Now, why do I speak about this? Because the scientists, so-called, who came up with this formula, who used the formula, the golden ratio, to actually say that Beyonce is the second most beautiful woman in the world, used the golden ratio. Because when you use the golden ratio, it has it's an organic proportion which underlies everything in nature, which is mathematical, right? So when people speak about, oh yeah, they use the golden ratio to say that Beyonce is the second most beautiful woman in the world, you're basically using African knowledge to tell people that the African woman is not the most beautiful. So you're basically turning our information against us. Now there's a temple called the Temple at Karnak, or the Temple of Amun, which is in ancient Kemet. And that temple is based off of the golden ratio, or the golden sequence. Now that temple was started around 2000 BCE and continued to grow until about for over 1,000 years. So you see in that temple the natural growth that occurred with dozens of pharaohs subsequently represent the growth in nature. The Amun represents or the invisible principle or the invisible force behind the organic growth in nature, which is based mathematically, right? So again, this temple growing for over 1,000 years with a multitude of pharaohs, and also Amun, his temple is aligned with a bunch of rams. Again, rams have the horn, that spiral, that noseless, which represents again the golden ratio. So you see how it all connects back to us. That golden ratio is also in music, right? They say that Mozart and other, classical composers use that golden ratio whenever they compose their songs. But the golden ratio is also used in music today. Like there's a song that Drake has called "In My Feelings," right? Now, if you were to take a listen to the song, however long your song is, times it by the inverse of the golden ratio, which is 1.68. The inverse is 0.68. When you times that by the inverse, and that point in the song, you have the golden scale or the crescendo of that song. Now, does Drake write raps with a calculator? No, but it's in us. It's in everybody. It's in humanity to follow by this organic order of mathematics in our lives.